everybody, Ryan Madora here, and welcome back to another bass lesson. And today we're going to talk a little bit about adding some extra groove to our groove by kind of using slides, using grace notes, bringing articulation into the party here as we create a bass line and kind of figure out how we can kind of play, instead of just like kind of these blocky scale degrees, play it with some attitude, give it some secret sauce. And so if you want to get tab notation, anything like that for this lesson, head over to my Patreon page. You can find it there. You can also like this video, subscribe, do all the things. But let's kind of get started as we talk about adding articulation. Now, a couple things to know is that, when you start adding slides and things, you have different things under your fingers that you have to control. A lot of people think about like muting and string noise and things like that. I am using a P bass with round wound string, so it is speaking the string noise a little bit more. Flat wound strings might be a little bit more mutable, so you might have a little less string noise there. But you're going to have some of that regardless. So if you're somebody that practices with headphones and things like that, know that yes, string noise is a little bit inevitable. But we kind of like that. We kind of like having a little bit of a grit to our tone. And if you use overdrive or anything like that, that's going to be enhanced. And that's not necessarily a bad thing in the mix with other instruments. So just keep that in mind as you're practicing. But at the same time, have good technique. You want to, sound good on your instrument, and you want to have clear sounding notes. But to do this, we're going to say, all right, we're going to practice in the key of A. And I'm kind of going over a 12-bar blues form. I'm pulling from my favorite Stax, Muscle Shoals, Motown records. I love those kind of old Wilson Pickett, Eddie Floyd grooves, some Duck Dunn stuff, some David Hood. And I'm kind of using that as the inspiration for something like this, but then I'm giving it a little more attitude with extra slides and things. So I'm kind of starting with what I call the kind of classic soul R&B ingredients for a soulful groove, which is the root, the fifth, and the sixth, played in whatever order you choose. I'm going to kind of flip that fifth and sixth around and go root, 6, 5, kind of that knock on wood type bass line. And I might add the third in, and then I'm using this kind of 5-fret span shape. So instead of playing my regular 4-fret span shape through a major scale, I'm thinking a little vertically on the neck. And what that allows for are the slides between certain notes in our major pentatonic. So our major pentatonic is going to be the root, second, third, fifth, sixth. I'm going to throw the octave on top. And the cool thing about that is that we have the kind of built-in slidable notes between 2 to 3 and 5 to 6. If you were to play a 4-fret span shape here, you have the notes under your fingers, but you can't really make those slides happen. And the slides are the thing that kind of add that extra funk, because we like having a little bit of dissonance between, the second and third and the fifth and sixth. Also, you can go in the other direction, 6 sliding down to 5, 3 sliding down to 2, then going to the 1. So kind of using this 5-fret span major pentatonic shape is really advantageous for adding slides as opposed to the 4-fret. You can kind of see I'm going to just slide all over the place, because 6 or 5 to 6 or 6 to 5, 2 to 3, 3 to 2. That's a great thing to be able to slide between those notes. And so with this bass line, I'm going root, 6, 5th, but I'm going to slide into my 6. So that again kind of lets us work between sliding from our scale degree 5 into 6. Now to do that slide, I'm not necessarily always starting on my 5th and doing a clear whole step slide. I'm kind of easing into it. Now, this is something that really requires kind of developing the touch for. So when you're doing a slide, the thing to remember is that with this hand, with your plucking hand, you're articulating where the note starts, and then your fretting hand is articulating where the note ends. So that's a really important thing about slide technique, where, I might start by playing the E, striking it, but then this hand is the one that gets to the note. So I'm kind of starting the slide and then ending with the pitch from this hand. So that's kind of this interactive thing where you kind of realize that the way you play slides is really dependent upon that relationship between what this hand is doing and what this hand is doing. And you don't necessarily always articulate the note that you end on here with what your plucking hand is doing. You kind of let this hand do it. Very similar to if you're doing like a hammer-on or something like that. You know, when you're doing a hammer-on, you know, you're playing the note, and then it's just the pressure from your fretting hand that gets that final pitch that you land on. Same kind of thing with the slide. So, and the cool thing with this is if I do that slide up to scale degree 6, my index finger is like right there, right at the ready to play scale degree 5. So I can kind of get this really nice kind of move where I'm going index finger popping up with my pinky for the slide, landing on my index finger, which should be right at the fret that I want it to be at. So, and then the cool thing is you can slide back down. So what I can do there is root, slide into the 6, play the 5th, and then play the 6 again, but slide out of it. And again, that sliding out is kind of this loose thing where I'm kind of sliding down to scale degree 5, but I'm kind of peeling off the note and kind of ending that note by landing on this root. So the thing about slides is it's about movement from one note to another, but it's also really important to know that the place that you land on is going to be kind of the end of the slide and the new pitch. So for me, if I'm playing this bass line, I want to establish playing the root, sliding into the 6, the 5th, and then sliding out, but emphasizing the fact that I'm landing back on this A, back on the 1. So this is kind of a cool thing to get under your fingers. You can also kind of end on the octave, so I did a little quick 5/6 octave move right there. The other thing is that you can kind of add some grace notes into this as well. I like to do that by kind of playing kind of that little move here where I'm going from my minor third, major third. Not necessarily a slide, more of like a hammer-on grace note type thing where I'm playing like that. So I'm using my middle finger to play the C, the ring finger into the C sharp, the major third. So I'm kind of going minor third, gracing into the major third, playing the 5th with my index finger, and then popping back down. So I have cool approaches here. I can slide, or I can grace note with that little hammer-on grace note type thing. And so that's a really cool thing. And again, you know, we're playing a 12-bar blues, so you can kind of move this across all the chords. So you can take it to the 4 chord. Oh, that was an interesting move. This time, I decided to kind of slide back down to my root. So I played my root note, my slide into 6, 5, and then instead of sliding from my 6 down, I slid from my 3rd down, landing back on the D, the root note of that chord. So I did that little slide from the 3rd down to the 2nd, landing on the root. And then you can do that kind of same minor third, major third, hammer on, and then hit the 5th. So there's a lot you can do here. You can kind of see the flexibility that adding slides and things allows you to do, especially if you get comfortable moving your slides in 2 directions, you know. Again, it's all about like where you attack the note, where you peel off, and getting this feel under your fingers. So the more fluidly you do it, the kind of smoother it sounds. That's kind of an obvious thing. But it's that thing that makes like the feel of a bass line like really come alive. Again, you can kind of do this and do the same moves over your 5 chord, the E. You could do that was the little slide down from the 3rd. You could do slide down from 6. You could also do your little hammer-on guy. So then you can put it all together with your 12-bar blues form. You know, play over your A chord for 4 bars, your D chord for 2 bars, back to A chord for 2 bars, a bar of E, a bar of D, and a bar of A, and 2 bars of A. And you can kind of, again, get really creative with using these slides. kind of like to add that little flourish at the end where I'm like, oh, what if I just go and do a move that's very similar, just an octave higher. So that time, instead of doing that, I found it higher. Just sounded really cool. Great little way to like add some secret sauce to the end of your chord progression. So this is kind of just like a little way for you to get started on using some slides and grace notes to kind of make your groove feel a little more authentic, a little cooler, and knowing that sometimes taking advantage of this kind of like 5-fret span major pentatonic shape is the thing that really lets you do that, because it lets you add those slides between scale degrees 2 and 3, or 3 to 2, and then 5, 6, or 6, 5, depending upon the direction that you're going in. So this can be a super helpful way to kind of just like add that awesomeness to your groove. And again, if you want to get tab notation, anything like that for this lesson, head over to my Patreon page. You can find it there. You can support this channel. And in the meantime, happy practicing, everybody. Keep it groovy.